Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something huge, a stack of sources, all focused on a topic that, well, it resonates with so many of us: how to truly master English communication, especially if it's not your first language. You know that feeling. Walking into a room, maybe any room, and there's that little flicker of doubt about your English. Well, this deep dive is about getting rid of that doubt, finding the real levers that transform how you connect. We want to move beyond just grammar, really look at confident speaking in all sorts of situations, casual chats, big presentations, you name it.
That's exactly right. And our sources today, they're packed with really practical advice we've drawn from public speaking experts, language schools, communication strategists, a real mix. So we've got insights on, well, everything from crafting a compelling speech, engaging an audience, to navigating those tricky conversations, and even understanding those subtle language barriers we often run into, especially in professional life.
Yeah, those barriers can be tricky. So our mission today is basically to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge, give you a real shortcut, help you feel more confident, more capable, whether you're behind the mic in the meeting room or, just striking up a conversation. We're going to help you unpack what it means to be truly well-informed about enhancing your English communication. Let's find those breakthroughs together. Okay, so let's dive into the absolute bedrock then. Before we even think about standing on a stage or navigating a networking event, what are the fundamental skills? What really underpins confident English communication? And maybe what are some less obvious ways to approach them?
Okay, a great place to start, definitely, is with vocabulary expansion and language usage. Now, everyone knows large vocabulary is essential, right? But what our sources really dig into is, it's not just the size, it's the depth of your understanding, and crucially, your contextual recall. That's what unlocks real confidence. For instance, one expert suggests focusing less on just memorizing isolated lists and more on something they call situational word mapping.
Situational word mapping. Okay, what's that?
It's about building clusters of words you'd actually use in specific, maybe high-stakes conversations. So it's very targeted, practical strategies. Well, things like interactive reading sessions. You underline new words, try to figure out the meaning from context, then maybe discuss them in groups. Technology is a huge helper here too, obviously. Apps like Quizlet, Memrise, Duolingo, digital flashcards, games, quizzes.
Right, making it a bit more engaging than just lists.
Exactly. And creating thematic vocabulary lists, maybe based on travel or technology or your specific job, using weekly themes, visual aids that can make learning feel more relatable, easier to recall. One source even highlighted the value of a simple word of the day, or keeping vocabulary journals. The ultimate goal here is precise, eloquent expression, but expression that feels natural, not forced.
Okay, so we've got the building blocks, the vocabulary makes sense. But what happens if you have all the right words, but they're just not quite landing correctly? How do our sources tackle the actual delivery of the language?
That brings us naturally to pronunciation and grammar. And again, while everyone knows clear pronunciation matters, our sources point to a less obvious secret. It's maybe not about eradicating your native accent entirely.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's more about mastering the art of intelligibility. So, focusing on specific sounds that frequently cause misunderstanding for non-native speakers, rather than trying for a full accent overhaul.
Okay, so targeted practice.
Exactly. Tips include things like regularly practicing phonetic exercises, trying tongue twisters, phonetic drills, and even recording yourself. But here's the key bit: actively listening back, trying to identify not just obvious mistakes, but subtle patterns in your speech you might be totally unaware of.
Training your ear to hear yourself like others do. That's insightful.
It really is. And of course, accurate grammar and syntax, that's the word order stuff, are equally important. Incorrect grammar can definitely lead to misunderstandings, affect clarity. So regular grammar practice, proofreading, those are key. And yeah, a truly surprising fact, maybe from one source: there's often no need to fake your accent. Your native accent is perfectly fine. Just focus on that clarity. Oh, and voice projection, so people can actually hear you.
That's probably a huge relief for many people listening, focusing on intelligibility over trying to sound like someone else. But what about the argument some sources might make that a more neutral accent could perhaps open more doors in certain professional settings? Is there a balance?
That's a really valid point. And yes, some sources do touch on it. The consensus isn't really to force a neutral accent. It's more about being aware that certain professional environments might have expectations around clear, broadly understandable pronunciation. It comes back to intelligibility, really.
Right. Can people understand you easily?
Precisely. If your accent is so strong that it consistently gets in the way of understanding, well, then that's an area to focus on for professional clarity. But the unique rhythm and intonation of a non-native speaker can also be a really powerful tool for memorability, for connection. As long as the words themselves are clear, it's about impact, not erasing who you are. Which actually leads us to another fundamental aspect. It's not just about producing language, is it? It's receiving and processing it too.
Absolutely. It's definitely a two-way street. So how do we sharpen our skills on the receiving end, listening better?
Exactly. That's where reading and listening comprehension come in. Big time. You can improve hugely just by practicing active listening in actual conversations. Watching English language, media, movies, TV shows, listening to podcasts, obviously.
Laugh slightly.
Yeah.
Good plug.
Laughs. Well, yeah. The idea is to adapt to various accents, different speech patterns, get your ear tuned in, and taking notes while you listen or watch, that can significantly boost comprehension and retention. Really valuable for exam prep too, if that's relevant. For reading, it's about engaging with a wide range of texts. Academic articles, sure, but also fiction, news, whatever interests you. And practice active reading, like summarizing paragraphs in your head, identifying main ideas, spotting supporting details. This also strengthens your ability to summarize and paraphrase later, for speaking and writing. It's all connected. It's about decoding the message, not just hearing the words.
Okay, so foundations are built. Vocabulary, clear speech, good listening. Now, how do we actually talk to people, especially when it feels, a bit awkward, challenging, going beyond just hello?
Right. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Mastering general English conversation and small talk. Because it's about more than just having the right words. It's about genuine connection. And the first tip is actually deceptively simple. Keep it simple. Seriously, a sincere greeting, a clear introduction can go such a long way. Hi, I'm Lucy. It's a pleasure to meet you. Or maybe at work. Hello, I'm Lucy. I just started in marketing. Just want to stop by and introduce myself. Simple, direct.
Takes the pressure off trying to be overly clever right away.
Exactly. And after that, ask simple, open-ended questions. Things like, what do you do for work? Or have you read any good books lately? Any travel plans coming up? But remember to read the room, as they say. Choose appropriate questions. You wouldn't ask about travel plans if someone just mentioned they lost their luggage around you.
Chuckles, good point. Been there.
We all have. Another really powerful technique. Give genuine compliments. They help make a person feel appreciated, seen. Instantly builds rapport. Like, I love how you've decorated your house. It feels so cozy. Or, professionally, your work always shows so much attention to detail. How do you manage that?
And asking a question at the end keeps it going.
Precisely. Keeps the conversation flowing. And hey, when in doubt, talk about food. It's such a common low-stakes interest for almost everyone. Imagine saying, where did you get that drink? It looks amazing. Or asking a colleague, do you have a go-to spot for coffee around here? Easy entry points.
Zug is always safe ground.
Pretty much. And finally, make it personal. Share a little anecdote, maybe even some self-deprecating humor. Shows authenticity, breaks the ice. One source actually mentions a Brit's favorite weapon, self-deprecating jokes.
Oh, I can believe that.
So an example might be, speaking of hiking, I went hiking near here last weekend. Views were incredible. Where do you usually go? The key is providing a little personal insight and asking a question. Shows you're listening, finding common ground.
Self-deprecating humor, and that's a classic. I remember one time I tried to break the ice with a joke about my own terrible cooking, and it totally backfired because the person I was talking to was a Michelin-starred chef.
Oh no. Laughs.
Yeah, lesson learned about reading the room. Right. Definitely. On that note, are there any topics the sources say to absolutely avoid, especially in those first delicate small talk moments?
Great point. Yes, absolutely. The sources are pretty universal on this. Be cautious around politics, religion, personal finances, and generally overly negative topics, especially with new people or at work.
Makes sense. Keep it light initially.
Yeah, you want to build common ground, not accidentally step on a landmine. Seeing common ground, idioms. We all know things like break the ice
Yeah.
to start a conversation. They add flavor, but the real deep dive insight here seems to be knowing when to use them, and maybe more importantly, when not to.
Okay. So what's the secret then? Using idioms effectively without sounding like you just swallowed a phrase book.
Well, they absolutely are useful if used wisely. Using idioms is pretty crucial for natural communication. These phrases, their meanings are different from the literal words, right? Often rooted in history or culture. Think about a piece of cake for something easy, or kill two birds with one stone, solving two problems at once. They definitely add flavor, but the advice is understand the right situation for each one. Practice them in daily conversation. Listen to how native speakers use them. But, and this is the critical warning from our sources, don't overdo it. Don't use too many.
Okay, why not?
It can sound strange, maybe even a bit forced. And it can actually create a barrier if the other person isn't familiar with the idiom you just dropped. So think strategic sprinkles, not, drenching your conversation in them.
Strategic sprinkles, I like that. So it's really not just about what you say, it's also about how you receive what others say. Which brings us, I think, to the crucial skill of active listening, something many of us think we do, but maybe don't truly master.
That brings us to a really critical point. Active listening. It's the practice of listening to truly understand what someone is saying, not just waiting for your turn to talk or planning your response while they're still speaking.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
Good listeners, though, they do several key things. They ask open-ended questions. They paraphrase and summarize what they hear just to make sure they've got it right.
Yeah.
Full comprehension. They practice non-judgmental listening, setting aside their own biases. They show patience. And they exhibit positive nonverbal cues. Eye contact, leaning in slightly. Avoiding distractions is huge, too. And what's really fascinating here is that active listening is often categorized under empathic listening. You're really focused on the other person, trying to grasp their story, their perspective. And the benefits, they're huge. Improves communication, boosts collaboration, builds trust, helps resolve conflict, deepens connections. It's powerful stuff.
Okay, so what are the specific techniques? How do we do active listening better?
Key techniques include being fully present, attentive, put the phone away, use positive body language, even virtually. Look at the camera, avoid multitasking, show you're engaged, resist that urge to interrupt or judge, let them finish. Paraphrasing what you heard in your own words is vital, just to confirm understanding. So if I'm hearing you right?
Right, clarifying.
Exactly. And asking clarifying open-ended questions like, tell me more about that, or how did you feel in that situation? Those are much better than potentially judgmental questions like, why would you do that?
Big difference there.
Huge difference. It's also important to validate the speaker's emotions. That sounds really frustrating, for example. And unless they ask for it, withhold advice. Just focus purely on understanding. Finally, maybe summarize key points and any action items at the end just to ensure clarity. One source offered a great aha moment. Sometimes just hearing their own problem relayed back to them helps a person realize they already know the answer. Yeah. And remember, a big misconception about good conversation is that you need to do all the talking. Often, shifting your focus to the other person through active listening leads to much more engaging discussions for everyone.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective, realizing you don't always need the answer, just the understanding. It does change the dynamic, doesn't it? Okay, so we've covered daily conversations, small talk, listening. But what about when the stakes feel higher? Like public speaking, that's such a common source of anxiety, especially for non-native speakers. Our sources must have some fantastic strategies here.
Oh, absolutely. Public speaking is a big one. When it comes to preparation and delivery, the word that kept coming up was consistency. You should rehearse your speech regularly, multiple times, and maybe focus on different things each time. One run through for pronunciation, another for body language, another for timing.
Breaking it down.
Exactly. Recording yourself can provide incredibly valuable feedback. You catch habits you didn't even know you had, like fidgeting or saying, too much. A strong opening is also crucial. It really sets the tone. Consider starting with maybe a compelling quote, a surprising statistic, or a brief personal story that ties into your topic. Practicing different opening lines can help you refine your approach, find what feels right.
And visuals, slides and things.
Right, visuals. Use them wisely. That was a key point.
Right.
They should complement your speech, support it, not overwhelm it or become a crutch. Keep text minimal on slides, charts, images. Make sure they're clear, easy to read from the back of the room. And always rehearse with your visuals. Ensure those transitions are smooth, not awkward. Finally, control the speed of your speech. Pacing. Speaking too quickly makes it hard to follow. Too slowly, and you risk losing people's interest. Aim for a moderate pace, and maybe deliberately slow down for really important points, like adding verbal punctuation.
Verbal punctuation. I like that image. Okay, that makes perfect sense for the mechanics. But what about managing those butterflies, those inevitable jitters that creep in, and making sure your nonverbal cues, your body language, actually align with your carefully crafted message?
Yeah, the jitters. This leads to a crucial aspect. How do we channel that nervousness into positive energy? Because managing nerves is completely normal. Everyone feels them. Techniques like relaxation, deep breathing exercises before you go on, or visualization, actually picturing a successful presentation.
Yeah.
Those can really help calm you.
Mind over matter, somewhat.
To an extent, yes. And thorough preparation, as we said, builds inherent confidence too. Less to be nervous about if you know your stuff. Equally vital is focusing on body language. Your nonverbal communication has a huge impact on how your message lands. Maintain good posture, make eye contact, try to scan across the room, connect with different people, use hand gestures naturally to emphasize points. Avoid those negative gestures like crossing your arms or fidgeting constantly. Practicing in front of a mirror or watching that recording of yourself helps you spot and adjust these things.
Seeing yourself as the audience sees you.
Exactly. And lastly, varying your vocal tone. This is essential. A monotonous voice can make even the most exciting topics sound dull. So practice modulating your pitch, your pace, your volume. Add interest, add energy. Make your speech more dynamic, more engaging.
Okay, so you're prepared, you're channeling the nerves, your body language is on point, your voice has variety. But how do you keep the audience truly with you, connected throughout the entire presentation?
Engagement. You need to actively engage with your audience. Ask questions. Invite participation, maybe. Encourage feedback. Techniques like using rhetorical questions can work well, or incorporating interactive elements, maybe quick polls, inappropriate, things that make the audience feel involved.
Make it feel less like a lecture.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It should feel more like a dialogue,
Yeah.
even if you're doing most of the talking. Being responsive to their reactions is also key. If you notice eyes glazing over, maybe introduce a quick activity or ask a direct question to regain attention. Adapt. And of course, handling Q&A sessions effectively. That's a vital part of engagement.
The dreaded Q&A for some.
Well, it can be. But preparation helps here too. Anticipate potential questions. Formulate clear, concise responses beforehand. During the Q&A, listen carefully to each question. Maintain your composure, even if it's a difficult or challenging inquiry. A well-handled Q&A can really reinforce your credibility and leave a lasting positive impression.
That's great advice for the individual speaker. But let's zoom out a bit. We've focused a lot on personal improvement, but what happens when communication challenges come from, say, diverse linguistic backgrounds? In a workplace, an international team, what are the broader language barriers we might encounter that go beyond just not speaking the same national language?
That's a really fascinating shift in perspective, actually. And what we consistently found in the material is that language barriers extend far, far beyond simply speaking different national languages. Though that's certainly a major one, of course. I mean, think of India, One source mentioned over 22 major languages, 16 different scripts, 720 dialects, mind-boggling complexity.
Wow. Yeah.
But our sources point out several other, maybe unexpected types of barriers. First, technical languages, jargon, specific to an industry or even just one department in a company.
Like engineers talking to marketing.
Exactly. The development team needs to explain their work to marketing in plain terms, otherwise things just get lost in translation. It's like speaking two different dialects of, say, business English. Then there are language disabilities, physical impediments like stuttering, dysphonia, hearing loss. These can make communication more cumbersome, obviously, but they have absolutely no bearing on a person's ability to do their job. It's about accommodation and understanding.
Important distinction.
Very. Then there's written communications. This is a sneaky one. Unlike talking in person, where you have gestures, tone, visual cues, written words, abbreviations, even punctuation can be interpreted in multiple ways. A classic example given was P.T. Barnum's sign, giant man-eating chicken, versus a giant man-eating chicken. That hyphen changes everything.
Chuckles. Okay. Point taken. Nuance is key in writing.
Absolutely. And finally, company-specific language. Organizations often develop their own internal jargon, acronyms.
Yeah.
It can totally confuse newcomers, impede their understanding of goals, expectations. It's like joining a new club and needing to learn the secret handshake and the secret language.
That's truly eye-opening. It completely reframes how I think about language barriers. It's not just about different tongues, but these different codes of communication, even within the same language. So, given all that complexity, how do we actively dismantle these multi-layered barriers? How do we foster truly inclusive communication in any diverse environment?
Well, our research really highlighted the importance of several practical, actionable strategies. First, and maybe simplest, use plain language whenever possible. Avoid jargon, avoid esoteric vocabulary. The goal is clarity, conciseness. Explain things straightforwardly. This is perhaps the most effective single method.
Keep it simple again.
It keeps coming back to that, doesn't it? For international teams, obviously find reliable translation services and enlist interpreters, but really vet their qualifications. Ensure accuracy across different dialects, cultural nuances. Don't just pick the cheapest option. Accuracy is absolutely paramount here. Companies can also provide language classes for employees. This could be anything from crash courses on company jargon for new hires to ongoing language learning. One source mentioned New Lab's Japan office offering weekly English classes. It's an investment.
An investment in understanding.
Exactly. Another big one, use visual methods of communication. Diagrams, charts, flowcharts. Visuals are often far more effective than words alone for complex concepts. Think showing could be much more effective than telling. Also, having a database of resources, glossaries, explainers that can be attached to written communications helps clarify things too. And use repetition. People often need to hear important information more than once to really understand and remember it.
It's not about talking down to people, just reinforcing.
Precisely. It's not about underestimating intelligence, just acknowledging how complex information gets processed, and perhaps most critically, be respectful. Always. Language barriers require patience, understanding, conscientiousness from everyone involved. If someone is struggling, talk slower. Talk more clearly, not louder, not forcefully. It's about finding common ground, fostering connection. It's never about intelligence or superiority.
That feels like the most important one.
It probably is. And finally, leadership plays a pivotal role here. Leaders need to prioritize clear, concise communication themselves. Practice active listening. Cultivate empathy, respect for cultural differences, invest in language training, develop conflict resolution strategies that account for these barriers. Continuous improvement is key too. Feedback mechanisms, evaluating training, cross-functional collaboration, celebrating progress. It's essential for adapting to linguistic diversity effectively.
Wow. What a journey we've taken, really, through the whole landscape of English communication, from the bedrock, vocabulary, grammar, all the way to the nuanced art of conversation, the power of public speaking, and even navigating these really complex language barriers in professional settings. The themes of confidence and clarity, they just keep coming through, don't they? Essential.
They really do. And if we connect all this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
improving your English communication skills, it's really not just about passing a test or landing a job, is it? It's about unlocking a whole world of connection, of understanding, of opportunity. But it does require continuous effort and a willingness to learn from every single interaction, every piece of feedback. It's a lifelong journey of refinement, really.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, when you go that extra mile, when you work to master clear, confident English communication? You're not just speaking a language, you're building bridges, whether that's breaking the ice with a new friend, captivating an audience, fostering innovation across cultures, or maybe just finding your own most authentic voice. So the question to leave you with is, what new connection will you make by refining your voice?